Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. Joining me, as always, is our other Real to Real Talker, Paul Britton. Paul, glad you're back from vacation. Good to see you again.
Man, I feel so good.
You look refreshed.
Oh man, I can't even tell you. Yes, I am refreshed. I am ready to go. I'm ready to close out the summer movies in hardcore fashion. and we're going to pick it up with an interesting week. So we're good.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
We will indeed do it, as we have several movie reviews to talk about tonight, as we will spend this evening just basically doing a few movie reviews. And I'm actually, I want to say right before we ever get there, I'm really excited about your What the Hell segment, because we won't say what it is yet, but when you sent me the note, I was like, oh yeah, that's exciting. So
it's gonna be fun.
Excellent. Well, it's gonna be a fun night overall. So let's get right to it. We have some movies we got to talk about, including one that frankly is underperforming. So let's go ahead and jump right in.
There's actually two that are underperforming.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
yes, it was people did not go to movies this weekend. Let's just put it at that.
And I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that, because the two movies we're going to do in our main segment today, The Flash and Elemental, of course, very different, but I think both underperforming for different reasons. But what it all comes down to is exactly what you just said. No one's going to the movies. And so at least not this weekend.
Right. And I think what's going on is there's two things. One, I don't think anybody trusts DC anymore. That's one thing, which is separate from people are now used to and expect things to just show up on streamers quickly and are okay with not dragging their kids to movies. And I don't think that that's across the board. I think that's a problem that Disney created by just releasing like 3 or 4 Pixar movies in a row straight to streaming, and doing things like Turning Red coming out straight to streaming. Like there's just been Disney's done too many animated movies straight to streaming that you see there's like, okay, well, I've got Disney Plus. That's why I have Disney Plus, is to wait for it to come to streaming. So
I mean, which is unfortunate, because when we get to Elemental, I'm looking forward to having that conversation about the movie itself. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's a sense, and I'm noticing this with a lot of movies, is it gets to streaming a whole lot faster here lately. And I think it's because of all of it used to be 45 days between release and the time a movie would hit a streaming service. But now, if people are willing to pay $20 on a streaming service, which frankly, let's be honest, that's your theater experience anyway, if you happen to get a bag of popcorn and a soda, right?
Right.
It's not as difficult anymore for people to pony up to $20. I mean, I used to think of that price as like, whoa, why would I do that? But then I think about it, I'm like, why would I not?
Yeah.
Right. Because at least my snacks will be free. And so
yeah.
So yeah, are we seeing, Paul, the future? I mean, is this where we're headed? Is the theater experience going to diminish?
No, I mean, yes and no. No, because people will still show up. Like people
like
the
us.
Marvel movies have been doing okay. Over 100 plus openers. Literally, I think this is a problem for Disney, because Mario, a zillion people went and saw Mario, a zillion people went and saw the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I think that's because they don't know what streamers those are going to. So it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get to see that one. Pixar, I have Disney Plus. I know I don't need to go see that one.
Yeah,
I know that's coming to Disney Plus, and I will be good. Which makes me sad, but
yeah, no, but okay. So then, with that said, then let's talk the Flash, though, because the Flash is underperforming dramatically. Worldwide, it's pulling in money, but
that's DC. I attribute that to just people not caring about DC.
And with that comes sort of my overall feeling about this movie, because while if you were to exit some of the not some of the but the main thing that I struggled with in deciding to go see this movie, which was, do I want to support its star, and you and I spoke about that. I don't know that that's the biggest impact. I don't think people were as hit with the nostalgia bug as it may have been thought originally,
right?
Because especially when you finally go to the movie and you're like, okay, cool, but it didn't feel big. The way in which Michael Keaton's Batman was used in this movie,
right?
It didn't feel momentous,
Right.
I'll take you back real quick. When Spider-Man No Way Home was the big nostalgia moment, right? Mm-hmm. And as someone who just sat there skeptically, not having a reaction to that, this was even less. Like, it fell flat.
Well, there was no. I mean, it was from the moment Flash, the first images we saw of Flash included Michael Keaton. Yeah. So there was no suspense in that regard. Like, at least for Spider-Man, they kept it as quiet as they possibly could for as long as they humanly possibly could.
Yeah.
With this, it was like one of the selling points was you get to see Michael Keaton as Batman, as old Batman.
But if you're going to do that, you got to give us something of substance.
Yeah, obvious. Yeah. So it's the DC conundrum. I'm sorry. It just is. It's the, and even Michael Shannon was just kind of like, all right, I'm here. Let's do this, and it's just like, oi. Yeah.
This movie, if we look at it holistically, it has a lot of problems, at least in the eyes of this guy. Yeah. It relies too much on a story that gets so confusing almost from the outset. And I'm talking about the spaghetti scene where the multiverse timeline issue is explained. And it was almost like DC's like, Marvel's got it wrong. What's what that whole speech felt like. And I get it. I get what was being said, but it's like, it just got so convoluted.
Yeah.
And it went throughout the common tying thread throughout this entire film was just a really, really murky storyline that when you finally did surrender to an action sequence, it was like, okay, but why?
Yeah. And also, speaking of action sequences, and I don't want to be this person because I typically don't like these people, but the CGI wasn't really all that good.
Horrible. So
the
bad.
CGI really wasn't that good.
So
and I'm talking about from scene one.
Yeah. It reminded me of something you said. I forget which film you said this about, but you always go back to The Matrix.
Right.
The second film. And I thought of you immediately.
Yeah, the babies were the rubbery.
Right from the start.
Yeah, the babies just looked like rubber babies.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because they're in slow motion doesn't mean that like suddenly they stop looking like babies.
Right. Yeah. And that was the thing throughout the whole film.
Yeah. And we've seen this in First Class with Quicksilver, with the young Quicksilver in the X-Men reboot, and it was more interesting and funnier. Like, like it just I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. There were good things about the movie though. I really liked the jailbreak. Like, I really liked the jailbreak. Like, that's your interesting movie. Like, it's just one scene, but it was like the second act was really actually pretty good. Like and I understand what you're saying. And unfortunately the kickoff of the second act is, hey, here's Batman, Michael Keaton. And that didn't do anything for you, but it still was the best part of the movie. Like, that started off the best part of the movie, and trying to free Superman, turns out it's Supergirl. And and the idea that, all right, well, now we need to get this person to care about humans, and now we need to get the Flash to care about more than just, you know, his little 18-year-old life. And it's you know, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as what comes after is like compelling and interesting, and the third act wasn't compelling or interesting. I don't know.
Not at all. There were some cool sequences here and there. There was even some fun dialogue between both Flashes. Again, coming at life from two very different directions.
Right.
So there was some clever storytelling going on there. But at the end of the day, when we finally go into Act 3 and it doesn't level up, you know, it was just the whole sequence where we finally get the explanation from Dark Flash and the realization of what has been happening. It's like it was funny because when that piece of dialogue and what's the word I'm looking for, as that was being explained,
reveal,
I was like, yeah, I know, I figured that out. You know, and man, they tried so hard, and there were some cool Easter egg moments, and I have to say, for them to bring in the third, I'm not going to say it for those who haven't seen it, the third Superman, was
so awesome,
beyond like
so awesome.
And I'm glad.
Do you know the story behind that?
Oh, absolutely.
You know the whole story.
Do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
because it's so good. It is so good.
Yeah, there's an entire documentary that I'd seen, and
okay, cool.
Oh, that's the only reason I knew.
Okay, cool. You hit on something briefly about how you kind of some of the dialogue between the two Flashes was amusing. The problem is all of the dialogue had to be compelling and good, not just some of it, and it just wasn't. The reality is, and this is something that sequels and things get wrong a lot, and that's okay. You could get it wrong, but when it's your tent pole and you're screwed, well, then you've got a bad movie. That support characters? It's really hard to turn support characters into central characters. And keep something compelling. And Ezra Miller's Flash is not interesting enough to carry a film. Like we find that out here. He is super fun as comic relief and not super annoying. Carrying a film, he's actually super annoying. And I don't care how many times he has to say, wow, you really are annoying. It doesn't change the fact that he actually is, really annoying. And like, you know, just because you comment on how annoying he is doesn't change the fact that, he's actually very annoying. So,
Well, I'm glad you said that, Paul, because that really was the overarching thought I had. As I was trying to sort of like, I thought about this and was like, okay, this is a movie that's supposed to be about the Flash.
Right.
Everything else around it is carrying this film.
Right.
Which is not what's supposed to be happening.
Right.
Oh yeah, I don't really find this character interesting. So
and the Batman scenes feel like Michael Keaton signed on to be the comic relief, and then after one day of filming, he's like, "Oh shit, I've got to carry the dramatic part of this." And so he kind of had to change where he wanted to be coming from with the role, and it's true. It's like. He had to like I would have much more enjoyed a Michael Keaton that could just chew on scenes, but he couldn't. He had to absolutely step up and try to carry some, and it was just like I felt bad for him. I'm like, no, this isn't his movie. This is the Flash movie, and the guests should be the ones that get to have fun.
Yeah, I would have loved to know more about Supergirl. That for what we got, it was like, oh gosh, like there's at least a series here. What did you think, without, again, for those who are watching or may watch later without spoiling,
sure,
if you haven't seen it, what did you think of the fixed point resolution of some of these characters?
We got served a little bit of this with the Across the Spider-Verse. This concept of you can't change something. Some things are so fundamental to what happens to a character that it becomes immutable. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
I mean, Across the Spider-Verse kind of gets that across a little more rationally than this does, I think.
Right.
But and also does a much better job of raising the question of are we really saying that? Or maybe there are ways to do things better. If not correct, and so I feel bad because casual fans who go to see this movie that don't want multiverse movies are just going to be SOL on this. And two, I feel bad that this movie had to come on the heels of a movie that just kind of did what it was trying to do better.
Sure.
You know, so.
Yeah. No, that was my thought exactly. And at the end of the day, the issue with this film is when your movie is building to something that they haven't put anything underneath as a strong enough foundation of a story.
Yeah.
When you finally get to those moments, they should have been far more impactful, and in another time with another script, with another, whatever, it might have been that.
Yeah.
It just didn't really get there.
And I just want to say, and I know that Gunn came out and said, "Oh, this is the best superhero movie that's been made in 10 years," or something like that. And comments like that don't do this movie any help.
No,
they don't. Like, and this idea that Stephen King saw it in advance and loved it, I don't buy that. Like,
there was too much of that going on before the release.
Yeah. Let this movie be and get me excited for Aquaman. Like, set me up for Aquaman to care about Aquaman, because you've got some work to do.
Yeah.
So you've got
well, and that's the thing is I even read some articles after the first first 2 days that it was out. And I felt like some of the people who were writing were just so trying to reach, but it was like, no, the numbers aren't going to be there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we've said our piece here in relation to this movie.
Yep.
So with our rating scale of 5 tacos plus guac maximum, Paul, where would you put The Flash on our rating scale?
I didn't hate it, Okay. So I'm going 2 plus guac. I thought that there were elements of it that I did genuinely like. So it's 2 plus guac for me.
Yeah, I'm going to put 2 plus guac as well. That was what I came in with. You're looking at my notes, because I'm going to. The guac is just some of the cool moments throughout that were like, okay, okay, fine.
There were really,
especially
cool
the end.
Moments.
I'm sorry, I don't care what people think, but the end was too good. It was fantastic. But yes.
Not the at post credits end, but the actual end. Oh my god.
Yeah. The post credits. It's time to do away with those, Paul. I'm done with the post credits.
You're over them completely. I love it.
The beginning of that was when Guardians 2 gave us 5. It's like, no, we're done. We're done.
That might have been excessive. I'll give you
much. Yeah. So. Yep. All right. Well, that is our view on The Flash. Make sure you catch it in theaters or wait, whatever. So we get now to the film that I'm actually feeling real bad about how it's doing.
Yeah.
Elemental, latest from Disney Pixar. And Paul, I don't know how you felt about this movie, but I loved it.
Look, it's Pixar. It's original story Pixar.
Yeah.
This is my wheelhouse. I absolutely loved this movie.
It was great.
Firmly entrenched in my top 10 for the year.
Good.
I have no idea like where it will fall at the end of the year, but I only see like 3 movies coming for the rest of the year where I'm like, oh yeah, this will definitely be better than Elemental. Yeah. One of them I'm going to go watch next week, and we'll talk about in 2 weeks, Asteroid City. But I loved this movie, and I'm going to start with the animation. Holy shit.
Amazing. Yeah.
Pixar, so I get it, people. I get it. You've seen Pixar movies, you know what they look like. No, you don't. because this movie absolutely kicked Pixar animation up a notch.
Yeah.
The rendering of non-living water throughout this movie
I was gonna say
was, what are they doing? Like literally, like, am I watching Avatar right now level of like, this has to be real, right? Like this, they had to have like just filmed real water and then just kind of manipulated it in ways for digital renderings, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you get this amazing detail and from pure animation. Like there's no way.
Yeah. Well, and along with that, you know, if you when this film first came out, and trailer wise, I remember thinking to myself, how are you going to make the elements compelling? You know, boy, do they! Like, the entire messaging of this film is very timely. That's no accident. And
sure,
when you can make things like air, water, fire, you know, compelling and bring them to life in with a set of just amazing characters. I mean, Ember is going to go down probably as one of my favorite absolute creations. Wade is hilarious. I mean, there's too many things in this movie that are so great that it's hard for me to put a finger on it and say this is what drove this film, because it felt, as opposed to The Flash, it felt like a very well put together, tight script. The visuals are beyond amazing, like you said, but it landed firmly in that position of, this is the message, this is what we're here to tell you. And it did it in an entertaining way. This was a really, really good film.
And yes, Pixar is manipulative of people who cry easily at movies, and I am a victim again. I am a victim again, and I don't care. Like, and it's because it is sincere. They don't do it because they just want to be schlocky, or they just, you know, feel like they earn it. The movies earn their reaction, and they know how to do it, and it's great. And like you said, like, Ember is just such a great character. And it's a simple character too. Like, by the way, like, we've seen this character before, you know. This is not a spoiler in any way. It's girl following the steps of her father, but has her own dreams. And, you know, but, you know, there are enough variations on the theme that it's like, okay, this is really compelling and interesting. And you know, and I'm always interested in the characters that Pixar develops. And I watched Soul a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to say 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago. I watched Soul. And that was the first time I'd revisited it since it originally came out. You know, I watched it like twice within the first week, but hadn't revisited it since. And I mean, it's like, I loved Soul. I think I might have liked this one a little more. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, their original stories are the best. They just are the best. And I hope it has legs. It did 29 this weekend. It fell short of Flash, which is an abomination. Shame on you, America. I hope that you rectify that by having Elemental ahead of the Flash this coming weekend.
Hopefully.
That's like, unfortunately,
especially given the landscape of this weekend.
Well, so the problem is that there's nothing coming out that would take its place on IMAX.
Right.
So the Flash is going to stay on IMAX unless everybody realizes, oh wait, you know what? People would probably rather go see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse again on IMAX than see Flash. But so
it's really a shame, because Elemental and maybe like you said, it's going to find its legs on streaming, but
it will.
This is just one of those movies that just comes along and it makes you feel good. And you know, I was just, you know, Jen and I we both came out of it just like on air, like, this was fantastic. It was it really put a big smile on our face, and did it with a cast, Paul, that for the most part are not, unless they do voice acting in other, you know, genres, but this was not. I mean, Catherine O'Hara and I forget one other, but pretty much after that there was not a lot of known voices or known
right
actors, and yet fantastic film.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come in, if you don't mind. I'm going to go ahead and go first. It's four tacos plus guac for me. It falls short of the 5 simply because I wanted more, and I think it could have it could have given us even more fantastic stuff with more characters. But I'm being picky.
I'm fine. 5 tacos. I'm not giving it 5 plus guac. But yes, 5. It's a 5 taco movie for me. I loved it. And the only compelling thing that I would say that would make me want to give it guac is because of the advancements in animation that happened. But the reality is, from a story standpoint, it doesn't pack that extra punch.
Right.
Like it's like there is upper echelon A++ list Pixar, and then there's just the A+ Pixar. This is the right below the upper echelon, which is super high. Like, you can't, let's be honest here. Pixar, being a great Pixar movie is no easy feat. So
no, not at all. And yet they keep outdoing themselves. I mean, it's fantastic to see. I think I'm catching the animation bug from you finally. So
yay.
All right. Well, again, make sure you catch The Flash or Elemental in theaters. It really is, the second Elemental, especially. I really hope more people go see it this weekend because it really is something fantastic. All right. Well, Paul, it's time once again, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, that I'm excited about your topic this week on What the Hell Did I Just Watch? Because this is I'm going to let you introduce it, and I'll give you my thoughts briefly.
Sure. Okay. So I'm doing the movies of Terry Gilliam, and really my initial thought, once I decided, you know what, I want to do this segment, and I did it when I had said, oh, there's this movie Suspiria out there, we should watch it. And then I watched it, and I called you guys. I said, and this was when Susan was on the podcast. And I called you guys. I said, forget it. Don't watch it. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to do it. And I think I want to make a segment. And the reason why I thought about the segment was because my thought was, I want to watch movies like Brazil and just expose those to the world, and I feel like I have done that as often as I possibly could. Because the problem is that Brazil is just an absolutely brilliant movie that is impossible to really express how formative it can be on a young person when they're a teenager and they stumble upon this movie Brazil, because you found out that it's directed by one of the guys from Monty Python. I mean, look, that's it. Like that's the long and the short of it. So first, Terry Gilliam got his start with Monty Python. Okay. So he was the co-director for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And then he was the sole director in Meaning of Life. I loved Monty Python growing up. So those were 2 movies that I had seen. At the same time, I had seen Time Bandits, and I didn't know that Time Bandits was directed by Terry Gilliam until like some time later. And then around the time Baron von Munchausen came out, I found out he had this other movie called Brazil, and I was like, oh, well, I would like to see that. I like this. I like this guy. And so I'm like 13, 14 at the time. And I'm telling you, Brazil is just what the hell did I just watch? It's the quintessential. This is what I want this segment to be, because it's bonkers. It has heart, but the heart is a little tapped with acid, and that's fine. Like the heart is just mystifying, and there's 2 different versions out there available. I like both versions. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I get it. I get why the director's cut wasn't released in theaters, and the theatrical cut isn't quite as good as director cut, obviously, but I still enjoyed the theatrical cut. I saw the theatrical cut before I saw the director's cut, and the director's cut, like, so the thing that people don't, the one thing the movie suffers from is it has the open ending. It has the, okay, it's over, but what's going on. But you know what? There's such a long line of movies that have done that are good. I'm thinking the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, Total Recall, you know, just where there's enough doubt cast or seated throughout the movie that you don't know at what point did the movie stop and did it turn into a fantasy, or did that ever actually happen at all? Yeah. And it's just the thing about Terry Gilliam is that he creates worlds.
Right.
That's it. Like that's his card, is that he creates worlds, and because of his world building, he becomes difficult to access.
Yeah.
You know, conceivable. For me, I love it, and I love in you know, just in enmeshing myself, you know, like, so his probably his most accessible movie, I would say, would either be Time Bandits, which is really a movie for an adult movie for kids, I guess you could call it. I don't know, but Fisher King is probably his most accessible movie. Like, you know, just from a standpoint of there's a clear story. It's not too insane. The world that he builds is just basically Los Angeles. So
it's funny because I'd forgotten Fisher King was one of his.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to so many of the others that are, and again, so much to love about so many of them.
Right.
Time Bandits was, I remember watching it as a kid with my siblings one summer. A cable had just come out, I think.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And just falling in love with that film.
Yeah. You know, and this is a movie that was, you mentioned, this was a movie that was on cable constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Early on. Yeah. Like, it was always on cable. So if you had cable, you saw Time Bandits, you know, and it's so charming. It's probably his most charming movie. And that's even with Baron von Munchausen being out there.
And still, that ending, the open ending, you know, or open-ended conclusion to the film.
But there's an open-ended conclusion, only in this slightly different, because the Brazil open ending is you don't really know what the hell you just watched.
Oh, of course.
Whereas Time Bandits, it's like, okay, there's an ending, but what happens the next day, and then you can have a conversation about what happens the next day. Whereas your conversation after Brazil is what actually happened. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Slightly different. But I mean, so here's 3 movies in a row that just blow my mind: Fisher King, 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, sure.
Holy shit. Yeah. That's 91, 95, 98. And 12 Monkeys is one of the best ever post-apocalypse movies ever made. Like, it's in the conversation, right? Like 28 Absolutely. Days Later's got to be up in there, and you know, there, you know, a lot of those are zombie movies. Child of Men, that's going to be up in there. There's a lot of movies in the conversation. 12 Monkeys has to be in that conversation. And then Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is just like, Johnny Depp is amazing. Like, you know, and just that Terry Gilliam creates an LSD world. It's just absolutely captivating. And you know, the best part about Terry Gilliam is the movie that he never made, and that he did eventually make, but by that time had to change it so much that you kind of wonder what. And he wanted to make a Man of La Mancha. He wanted to make a Don Quixote movie. And you know, there's an entire documentary about how he couldn't make the Don Quixote movie that he wanted to make, and then he made the Don Quixote movie that he was able to make, but not necessarily the one that he wanted to make. And it's with Adam Driver, by the way, amazing. It's a great movie that is packed with sort of tongue-in-cheek references to the fact that he didn't get to make the movie that he wanted to make. It's just, it's so self-referential. It's amazing. But like there are 2 in the 2000s there, the Brothers Grimm and the Imaginarium of Dr. Pernisis, which was literally being filmed when Heath Ledger passed away. And it's just like, how do you make a movie when one of your leads passes away? And he figured it out, and it made sense, and it's good, it's brilliant, and it's sad, and it's touching, and it's just really, and the Brothers Grimm is just a really it's not great. Like that's not one of his greatest, but it's also still compelling and interesting because he builds those worlds. And
of the list, I think that's the one I haven't seen. Is Brothers Grimm.
There's a couple that I haven't seen of his. I've never seen Jabberwocky, which I want to see. There was one in between those Tidelands that he came out with that I never saw. So I could have just like went and found Jabberwocky, and done that. I'm 100% sure, but I didn't want to. I wanted to.
Oh, there's enough there to talk about.
Yeah, I want to do everything. So
no, that's great.
Please, if you like this segment, the godfather of this segment is Brazil. That's the heart and soul of this segment. The entire purpose of this segment is the movie Brazil.
Nice.
Go see it. Find it if you can. Find both versions. Watch them both. They're both worth the time. The director's cut is better. I do like the theatrical cut. I had seen the theatrical cut before the director's cut was ever made available. So they're both worth the time. And yes.
Nice. I'll admit I have not seen the director's cut. I've only ever seen the theatrical cut. So I'm gonna go look that up because it is a bonkers film that is so worth the watch. I mean, it's just awesome.
It's got Robert De Niro in it, like just showing up and randomly, and Robert De Niro's cameo in this movie is just and Robert De Niro, like peak Robert De Niro. This wasn't like, Robert De Niro in 2008 after he made Meet the Fockers or something like that. This was like Robert De Niro getting off of the set of, like Taxi Driver and then showing up on the set of Brazil.
I always forget.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was really, I'm so glad you brought this today because again, we could do several episodes on these films and never get bored with them. So. Right. Fantastic. Well, Paul, as always, and I'm glad to know. I don't know that you and I ever spoke about Brazil being sort of the inception of this whole segment. I love knowing that now.
Yeah, I think early on, I just kind of mentioned it in passing, but like that was my. I strayed from it, like only because I've seen so many terrible movies in this segment, so many terrible movies, but I think all of the movies that I've done in some way, shape, or form have a little Terry Gilliam in them. So I think he would like that. So
I agree. I agree. Well, I thank you as always for what you bring because it always makes it for a fun segment. So all right. Well, thank you again, Paul, and thank you guys. If you want to know what the heck Paul's watching week to week for the show, the sacrifices he's making, make sure you stop on by and catch What the Hell Did I Just Watch?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to our next segment of Cinema by Jen with the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen this one, and I didn't get a chance to catch it. So
I think I told you really late, but so we spoke a few weeks ago. I forget the director who did A Mighty Wind and a couple of others. This is along the same line, not the director, but the mockumentary.
Mockumentary, okay.
Yeah, it's a mockumentary.
Christopher Guest.
Right, yeah. This movie, Drop Dead Gorgeous, is along the same line of those types of films in that it's a mockumentary about a small town teen pageant and all of the ins and outs and politics that go into that experience. Okay. It's / murder mystery. And so I will tell you that, and I've got to look, is it 90? No, not 93. When did this movie come out? Hold on. 1999. Yeah. 1999. So it's been around. I think it didn't really hit for me because it was so not funny.
Oh, really?
Everything that would have been funny in 99 just isn't funny now.
Okay.
Although I will say that Kirstie Alley in this movie is hilarious.
Interesting.
Ellen Barkin, even more so.
Okay.
There's some visual gags that work. But it's just so much of it is so cringy, just so cringy.
Okay.
And again, I'm watching these with Jen, so she can sense right away. She's like, "You're not enjoying this." I'm like, "Not really." But but again, it's one. She found it funny, and there is, I don't know if you're going to get around to watching it, Paul, but there is a moment that happens that she told me after. She's like, "This is the only reason I put this film on the list, was because I needed to see your reaction to this scene." And it was, I don't even want to give it away because I kind of want you to see it.
Okay.
But it's like I told her afterwards, I'm like, it wasn't worth that moment. Like, I'm like, thanks. But yeah. So, but yeah, the moment came, and I looked at her, and I was like, she's crying laughing because she knows that she set me up with this. But so the film itself, I could do without. But it does have its moments. It does have its. Oh man, listen,
a young Amy Adams. Oh,
I would not have known it was Amy Adams. Like,
really,
I don't know that I would have ever caught it if she hadn't said it. Because in these films, this was the height of Kirsten Dunst and Denise Richards, that kind of thing.
Right.
In terms of the work that they would eventually do. But again, there are some funny gags. There are some funny moments, but it's just really cringy for the most part. So it's worth watching. And if you ever do, I'll know you will, because you're immediately going to message me when the scene happens. So you're going to be like, okay, I understand. So yeah, so that was this week's Cinema by Jen.
Alrighty.
Drop Dead Gorgeous. So when we come back together in a couple of weeks, I know that we're back to animated, because I'm like, no, I need another one. So it's going to be Turning Red.
Yeah.
Will be the next one on the list. So
yeah.
And there you go. So
there you go.
Take it or leave it. Drop Dead Gorgeous. All right. Well, let's get to a couple of real quick reviews, and we're going to start with Extraction 2, Paul, because we both had agreed to see this one. Yes. This was my favorite movie that I saw all weekend. Like, this was
even better than Elemental.
Elemental was fun, but this was Sergio fun. This was Sergio fun.
I gotta say, this the first 10 minutes, I'm like, what are we doing?
Oh man,
like, what are we doing? And then Idris Elba shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And I should be super excited, like, holy shit, Idris Elba set up. And I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he even here? And then we get the training montage. It's like, why are we doing a training montage? and then Thor shows up at a prison, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so this is we again, we call it Real Quick Review for a reason, but
yeah.
This is obviously now set up to be a franchise. I mean, yes. I think it always was.
Yeah.
I like that it is. Yeah. It is you have to disconnect from reality in terms of the action to enjoy it. You have to believe that, he's channeling Thor with this character of Tyler Rake.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love most is that this movie puts all of its eggs into one basket, and that's action sequences.
Yeah.
That are phenomenal. The scene where he and the villain are fighting on the glass building.
Yeah.
So much tension.
Yeah.
So well choreographed. I mean, and it's going to try to make, like, there's going to be that one take sequence, that happened in the first film. It happened in this film. It's probably going to happen in the next one. But as long as this series focuses on just putting all their money into the action sequences, it's going to be fine for me, because I've enjoyed both.
I agree, and I wholeheartedly endorse this movie as being super fun. Like literally, if I had to pay to see this, if I had to pay $20 to see either Extraction 2 or The Flash again this week, I'm picking Extraction 2.
Easy.
It is in a millisecond. Like, there's absolutely, I don't even need to think
it's not
about
even a choice.
it. It's not even a choice.
Now, here's the point you'll find funny, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you, but I have to say this. When we decided to watch Extraction 2, I remember thinking, I literally thought to myself, well, I'm like, Extraction, I know we saw that, I know we talked about it, but Paul, it didn't stay with me. I rewatched it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's this movie with this long one shot sequence, you know,
right?
And I remember thinking to myself, why didn't any of this stay with me? Like, why didn't this movie leave it? Well, this one took care of that.
Okay.
Extraction 2 up the ante, and yeah, it was so much fun. I really enjoyed
it. The thing, so Extraction 2 picks up where Extraction 1 leaves off.
Yeah,
and absolutely. I'll be honest with you, I didn't remember that there was a cliffhanger in Extraction 1.
Okay.
Like that is something I didn't remember.
Yeah.
And so like I thought Extraction 1, I knew Extraction 1 ended with a really cool scene on a bridge. Like I remembered having a conversation about the bridge and like the crossing the bridge and just how like it just was awesome and hilarious. I didn't remember like what there was like questions of whether or not Thor lived or survived. Like I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I didn't remember.
And I think it's because back then the only conversation that we had was that him? Is it going to be? Is this going to be a franchise? And that was it. You know.
Okay.
Because
and I think we came to he's definitely still alive because they're definitely making more. Like it. Yeah.
They don't do a very good job of making you wonder.
Yeah.
No matter how quick it is. But yeah, no, this movie, like I said, you know, Elemental is fantastic. It's in a category on its own.
Yes,
but this outdid Flash without even trying. So.
I mean, they're literally in the middle of the prison yard fight scene. Okay, they're in the middle of the prison yard fight scene, and I was like, I gotta fucking watch this movie again sometime this week. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just thinking, I was like, Sergio and I hope Sergio didn't love Flash, because I'm gonna feel bad if I talk about how this movie was so much better than Flash.
Oh man.
But I knew you would like this one.
Absolutely. In fact, that's why you won't be surprised that for me, I'm sorry, I'm all in on the action sequences, and they just were bonkers. I'm giving this 4 tacos. I loved it. And it'll be rewatched very soon.
Yeah, I'm giving it 3+ guac. Look, this movie is an extremely rewatchable action movie that just needs to calm the fuck down with the "oh no, is Thor alive" in the beginning, and just, you know,
just get to your story.
Yeah, just get to it. Also, introducing involving the woman from the first movie's brother, like, tipped the hand as to what was going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, so
someone ain't making it out.
Yeah. Like somebody's got to die here, and it's not him, and it's not her.
And the reason I thought that was because this guy doesn't look like some super commando guy. Like, no, I mean, there was just something about him that I was like, somebody did somebody a favor and cast this dude, but he's not making it out of this one. So, but it was perfectly fine. Like and oh man, did you hate the kid? Like,
fuck that kid. God damn it.
Oh my goodness.
Fuck that kid. Why?
So well done. I loved it.
Oh.
And then he's just so like, oh no, what have I done? Well, yeah, buddy.
Fucking idiot. What do you
Fun movie.
That's trash. You don't know that? Like
yeah. Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right. Well, Netflix finally hits another one out of the park with an action film, but there's so many that they don't do well. All right. This last one that we're going to talk about, Paul, I kind of gave to you late because it was such a pleasant surprise for me. And that's the movie on Hulu and Disney Plus, Flamin' Hot.
Yeah.
A very stylized story.
Yeah.
Of the creation of Flamin' Hot Cheetos and the like. It was a fun movie. It didn't take itself too serious in trying to tell this story, but I don't know what you thought or if you had a chance to see it.
I did. My first thought was the only reason why they didn't cast Michael Pena was because they didn't want it to be as blatant a ripoff of Michael Pena's character in the Ant-Man movies.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's a great movie, great family documentary, not documentary, but biopic. That is, you know, it people should watch it. But you know, like the impact that this should have on kids of immigrants is just like it should be huge. Like it really should be huge. And the impact that this should have on like people, anybody who's against immigration needs to watch this movie, because you need to fucking calm down and stop, and just like everybody's a human, and everybody has a dream, and everybody has value, and just stop. And bringing more people in that have dreams and add value is a good thing. Stop. Right. Yeah.
No, there's and I love that the messaging of that through this film wasn't so heavy-handed. You had to draw those conclusions yourself, because you're given light fare, but with impact, and it's just right from the outset. It's funny. The executive scenes where he's narrating, right, and they're all doing the lip syncing too. I mean. Right. And Tony Shalhoub, come on, you got to give him props. He was great in this movie.
Yeah,
it was so much fun. And so for me, I'm going to give it 3+ guac, because it is definitely one that I'll revisit. And just props for a fun story.
Spicy guac, though, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a 3 taco. Like it's really good. It's really, really good. I hope people watch it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth
everything. Indeed. So in fact. It's funny because I loved Extraction 2 the most. This one made me laugh the most, and then everything else happened. And so, an Elemental again. It's in its own category. Yeah. And so, I really I think about having the time this week to see so many movies, and just again trying to figure out what's going to get us back to packed theaters. I don't know that those days are ever going to really come back, except for really, really big films. Because I'm sorry, but it's not going to be Oppenheimer, even though it's going to be great. 3 hours, dude. 3 hours and 14 minutes, I think. Yeah.
Oppenheimer and Barbie. Are you kidding me? I don't even know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
And
the last Barbie trailer, the most recent one that I saw this weekend, finally tipped me to like, okay, fine. All right.
I see what we're doing here. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it looks fun. So next week we won't be having a show, but in the week that follows, we will be talking about Asteroid City, which thank you so much, Paul. I want to say on air.
For sure.
I'm really glad you're going to wait, because I'm excited about that one.
For sure.
As Indiana I know you Jones. Are. And then Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. We'll be talking about that. So it's let's see how that movie does, because people aren't much for nostalgia, it seems. So.
Yeah,
are you going to rewatch the first few?
Sergio,
I'm torn between whether I want to or not.
So here's the thing: is that I don't get remotely as much time to watch movies as I used to, my man. I started a new job in May, and I'm back in an office, and and not that I would like sit at my desk and watch movies, but like I would be done with my day at 5, and I would actually be done with my day. I didn't have a commute in front of me, and like
good point.
Like I lose so much time during the week that I don't know that I will. I don't know that I will. I would love to.
I'm torn, mainly because I'll be gone for 6 days this week. So
right.
Yeah, but hey, at least we have it to look forward to, and we'll see what old Harrison Ford has left in the tank. So,
tell me what you think of Black Spire and the planet of Batuu.
Black Spire and the planet of Batuu. Okay, I will.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, Paul, as always, it's been a whole lot of fun talking movies with you. We'll look forward to doing that again in a couple of weeks. To all of you out there, we thank you for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe on the YouTube channel, as well as that notification bell, so that if you miss us live, you'll know when the episode hits. Outside of that, we thank you once again, and we remind you, as we always do, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. Go to the movies, go have fun, and we'll
go see Elemental for Pete's sake.
Yes, absolutely. Don't miss it. You will regret it if you do. All right, y'all have a great night, and we will see you next time.